Let's be honest, we all hate traffic, right? But what if a city could actually do something about it? Today, we're going to dive into Bristol's really ambitious blueprint to get its people moving smarter, safer, and, you guessed it, greener. I mean, it's a question we've all asked ourselves when we're stuck in a jam, staring at the car in front. Is this just an unavoidable part of modern life? Well, it turns out that frustration has some real, hidden costs. And it's not just about our time or our stress levels. As we're about to see, it goes a lot deeper, right down to our health. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're talking about Bristol, a really bustling city in England's southwest. Now, when you look at its wider metro area, you've got over 700,000 people, all trying to get from A to B every single day. Just think about that. That's a massive logistical challenge.
And here's where it gets, well, truly shocking. The human cost. Studies were suggesting that air pollution, and a lot of that comes from vehicles, right, was linked to several hundred premature deaths in the city every year. So this wasn't just some inconvenience. We're talking about a full-blown public health crisis.
So yeah, that brings us right to the heart of the problem Bristol was trying to solve. You see, a huge chunk of its residents were commuting by car, and that meant the city was just choked with severe, and I mean persistent, traffic congestion. And that congestion, it had this massive ripple effect. It was never just about being late for work. Nope, we're talking about a whole cascade of issues. Super stressed out drivers, way higher accident risks, and yeah, like we just mentioned, that damaging air pollution leading to really serious health problems. The city knew something had to give. They had to act. So what was their first big move? Well, it was something beautifully simple. The bicycle. Yep, Bristol decided to try and spark a full-on cycling revolution, basically betting that two wheels could solve a whole bunch of four-wheeled problems. Okay, so let's just do a quick side-by-side. A car commute, you know the deal. It contributes to emissions. It can be super expensive. But a bike commute, well, that's zero direct emissions. It's great for your personal fitness. And get this, it can actually be faster in those really congested city centers. For a city where a lot of people weren't getting enough exercise, this was just a massive win-win.
And here's the really crucial part. They didn't just, hope people would start cycling. No, they built an actual strategy for it. They went out and constructed new, dedicated cycle lanes, connecting the suburbs right into the city center. And they separated bikes from cars, which is huge for making it feel safer. And guess what? It totally worked. The result is that Bristol now has one of the highest cycling rates of any major city in the UK. Pretty amazing.
All right, on to the next piece of the puzzle. This one wasn't about changing how people moved, but changing the environment they moved in. The city shifted its focus to safety and quality of life by, believe it or not, just slowing things down. And they came up with this great slogan for it. Seriously, how good is this? A little bit slower, a whole lot better. So what they did was introduce a new 20-mile-per-hour speed limit in a lot of residential areas, dropping it from the usual 30. The whole idea was really simple, that just a small reduction in speed could have a massive, massive positive impact.
And wow, when you look at the data, it's just undeniable. This one policy dramatically improved road safety. We're talking about preventing several deaths and literally hundreds of injuries. It's such a clear demonstration that sometimes, slowing down is actually the fastest way to make life better for everyone.
Okay, so the third piece of the puzzle, this was all about public transport. Look, if you want people to get out of their cars, you can't just tell them to. You've got to give them a really great alternative, something they actually want to use.
And that's where the metro bus system came in. I mean, just look at the difference here. The new buses, they've got lower emissions, which, directly helps with that air pollution problem we were talking about earlier. But they also added all these modern conveniences, things like free Wi-Fi and USB charging points. Little things that make the journey way more productive and just pleasant.
And it didn't stop with buses either. The vision was bigger than that. They started the Metro West Rail Project, which actually began reopening old railway lines to strengthen the connection between Bristol and all its suburbs. So the goal here wasn't just better buses or better trains on their own. It was about creating a truly integrated system. Okay, but let's be real, no huge transformation like this ever happens without hitting a few bumps in the road, right? So it's really important to look at the whole picture, because Bristol's journey, well, it wasn't perfectly smooth.
So, for example, some of the new cycle routes were introduced as these temporary pop-up lanes during the pandemic. And while the idea was good, this really rapid change in how the road was used, well, it caused some confusion for drivers and even for bus operators.
You had critics pointing to a lack of clear signage, and some people argued that certain layouts actually made congestion worse in spots before it got better. It's just a powerful reminder that even with the best intentions, the details of how you implement these things, they really, really matter.
So when you step back and look at all of it, the successes and the challenges, what's the big takeaway here? Does what Bristol did actually offer a kind of blueprint for other cities that are grappling with these exact same problems?
So, when it all comes down to it, what's the secret sauce? Well, it wasn't one single silver bullet, that's for sure. It was a multi-pronged strategy. They were promoting cycling, enforcing new safety rules, and upgrading public transport, all at the same time. And what this proves is that, yeah, meaningful change is absolutely possible, but it also shows that it's a really complex process, and you're going to have some of those bumps in the road along the way.
And that really brings us to the final question, and this one's for you. I want you to think about your own town, your own city. Think about the air you breathe, the safety of your streets. Could a blueprint like the one Bristol used, could that work where you live? What would it even take to start that conversation? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer,